What's up, guys? Blaney Talks here, back with another interview with my good man, Kennen, over here. This is one of my friends from high school, been knowing him for a couple of years. He's a really good man, and I look up to him in a lot of ways, and he's just a beautiful person. I'm glad to have on the podcast here. Or wait, podcast interview. Don't use podcast. People hate podcasts for some reason. This is an interview. Anyways, Kennen, why don't you go ahead, introduce yourself a little bit. Tell us what you're about. Tell us what you do. What's your day-to-day like? Just give an introduction.
Yeah. I currently work at Tulane. I'm a lab tech, so I just be hanging out with the mice all day.
Okay.
Other than that, I coach soccer. I play soccer. Not right now though. That's a little bit postponed. But yeah, chilling. I think I start my PhD next year. Big boy moves,
Yes, sir. What are you studying?
I'm gonna be studying neuroscience, so I think that's gonna be like a 5-year degree, and I think I want to get into aging. So
Aging?
Yeah.
Like how the brain changes as time progresses, sort of?
And kind of what happens, there's this kind of big question in neuroscience. It's is aging a disease? Oh my God.
Shit. No, you're good.
Is aging a disease? And it's kind of you have all these age-related pathologies, Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's. It's
right.
And the biggest correlate with all those diseases is just age. So it's when you get older, you're bound to get these eventually.
Right. Because you never die of old age, right? If I'm correct,
No,
you die of something.
Yeah, you're gonna die of something.
People say they die of old age, and that's just not true. There's more.
Yeah.
There's diseases that come with age that kill you.
Have you seen that guy, Brian Johnson, who looks like a vampire?
Brian Johnson?
Yeah.
VJ?
Not VJ.
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
Wait.
It's the guy who kind of he got blood from his.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's crazy. He there was a Twitter post of him measuring his kids' erections at night. Shit's crazy.
And what was the conclusion from that? What information do you think he was trying to seek out from that?
I don't know. He was measuring his nighttime erections and his 19-year-old kids' nighttime erections to see I don't know. It's it correlates with deep sleep, I guess. And he's I only lasted 2 less minutes than my son.
He's I have the blood oxygen level of a 23-year-old. I have the stamina of a 30-year-old. I have the nighttime erection of a fucking 19-year-old. What I'm doing is working. You think he's gonna launch a meme coin soon or something?
Oh, he probably does already have one. But
I'm buying in.
I follow him a lot just to see if he gets hit by a car, because he wants to live to 200.
Holy shit.
And he takes 80 supplements a day. He has this whole protocol that he does.
I think I've seen it.
But he's for sure gonna die of
something absurd,
goofy.
right?
Yeah.
Something that's not related to aging diseases, like you were saying. But all right, let me see. So normally in the beginning of the episode, I like to talk. You've watched a few episodes. I like to talk about why we're here and what we're doing. And so I'm getting a little bit better at explaining it in a faster way so that it doesn't take up too much of our time. So the reason that we came out here and started this in the first place, it was me and Ricky, the camera guy right now. Can we give a round of applause for Ricky? Out here in this very cold weather, no one likes to be cold, but he's doing it for the love of the game, and we all appreciate him. Anyways, so Ricky and I came out here, filmed the first episode, and the inspiration behind it was there was a time in my life whenever I was feeling shitty and I felt like there was no one I could talk to, no one I could relate to. I was having mental struggles, and it kind of led me down a path that I'm glad I went down now. But if there would have been someone to sit there and go, yeah, I've been through that, it might have been a little more comforting in that moment. Of course, I'm happy that I went through everything that I did, but And I know it's very vague, but I don't think it needs to be any less vague than that, in the sense that, you know, just what you really need to take from it is there's people that go through struggles, and you shouldn't be afraid to reach out to your friends or just reach out to strangers even. Just being vulnerable is never going to put you in a situation that is bad. I mean, maybe in relationships or something like that, there can be an argument for that if you give your vulnerability to the wrong people. But whenever you feel like you're dying because of your mental stuff, don't be afraid to reach out. And that might seem cliche, but anyways, so that's the inspiration. With that, we're going to transition into the thing that I ask all the guests. I've been doing five words to describe yourself, but I feel like that's too much, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think three is a better number.
Yeah, 3 just fits better.
3 is better because I'm trying to type in fucking West Bank Chancellor, rapper, influencer, and then the YouTube is like, you can only type 100 words. And I'm like, okay. So, yeah, so what are 3 words you use to describe yourself, your existence, where you are in life, maybe, you've seen it.
How would you answer for yourself?
I would say, I like that, thank you. I would say, father, and I guess it doesn't have to be 3 words. It could be, I could say young father, 3 descriptors, I should say. Fuck. This is tough. It's so tough being put on the spot. Holy shit.
How do you think being a father has changed your identity?
Oh, I mean, it's completely flipped it around. I mean, I was a little delinquent for a while, and then having Oliver kind of completely changed my life in every single way possible. It allowed me to, or it caused me to kind of lock in, if I were to describe it in any ways. I feel like it's sort of a cheat code in the sense of, like, I have a lot of people around me that are my age, but they don't have a lot of responsibility. You can fuck around for however long until someone is completely relying on you. Once someone is completely relying on you, there's no more fucking around. And there's an amount that you can fuck around that's acceptable, but it takes a while to understand what that amount is. And I'm finally getting to the place where I feel comfortable going out a little more and doing more things for myself, because Oliver isn't like this little tiny baby.
I remember, like, right after Ollie was born, like, you telling me, like, you feel like your brain changed.
Yeah, true, very much so. Well, I'm sure as a neuroscientist you know this, or an aspiring neuroscientist, once the female brain goes absolutely bonkers after a baby is born.
It completely changes,
It's your desires are changed. I can't go too descriptive because I don't know too much about it, but what motivates you changes. Just like you have these instincts that come along, and this motherly, fatherly instincts is, of course, bullshit. Like, you don't really get a feeling in your gut whenever your baby's going through something, but you become more aware of minute things around you, that you wouldn't have been aware of. Like, there's times whenever, like, Oliver's just around me, and I'm, like, having to, like, be a ninja and fucking deflect. Oh, no, don't eat this battery. Fucking, you just observe the world a little differently. And if that's the broadest way to say it, I think that's enough for what you're asking, I think. You just observe the world a lot differently.
Yeah, that was beautifully said.
Thank you. Okay, father. Thinker. Talker. That's it.
I like that. Do you think you have always been a thinker? Or is that something...
I think I've always... Yes.
Yeah.
I can remember times whenever I was young and I would sit up in my room obsessing over, like, a loop that was happening in my head. And that might sound a little crazy, but I would sit there thinking this thought on repeat until I figured it out, but there was no solution to it. And there's just whenever I was younger, 12, 11, 10. There's also times whenever, I'm trying to think what I was about to say, thinker, where, I don't know. Well, but yeah, definitely. I've always been a thinker, for sure.
I ask that because a lot of people, it's hard for them to express their thoughts to, like, other people. like you can hold everything in. I feel like you're very so much a type of person to, like, especially now, or since I've known you since high school, like, you think a lot, but now you're having a platform to express those, like, deep thoughts.
Yeah, it's really nice, and I've wanted to do it for a really long time. I've always wanted to create something like this. This is a discussion me and Ricky had before we came out here. Was I was sitting there like for months, even years, just like I should make a YouTube video called Nature Walk and Talk for years, where I was like, and I just didn't want to. I was like, what if people think it's cringe? What if it's weird? And what if people think I'm stupid? And it's just the opposite of that. It's just been, everyone's been very supportive, and it's been very nice, and I appreciate everything that I've got. I mean, I'm at 62 subs, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it's like, if there were 62 people right here, right now, even if it was mostly my friends going, I'm going to dedicate listening to this, or acknowledge this, you know, even 62 people acknowledging that this is
a lot.
You're right, it means a lot. And so, you know, we have big things coming, and so it is nice to just be able to talk, because part of it is not being able, like what I'm saying, not even being able to talk to your friends, like, which is, you know, part of the mission statement. I can still talk to myself, I can still express myself, and still put it out to where it reaches someone.
Yeah.
You know, hopefully.
Yeah. I kind of get the same feeling. So I guess like one of the three that I would like choose would be coach. So I've been coaching soccer since high school. So I think this is my 6th season, which like makes me feel really old.
Holy shit.
Yeah. But I think, and I coach soccer.
Right.
And one thing I've learned, like, I've learned so much more from soccer. I've gotten so much better at soccer by coaching it than I ever did playing.
Yeah.
Because we had a trash-ass coach.
Okay, valid.
Just kidding. But, like, you have to have some type of vulnerability to, like, not surrender yourself, but be willing to, like, make mistakes in coaching and, like, learn and adapt yourself to, like, teach people. Like, I remember my first year coaching, we were just, like, shooting before practice, just kind of, like, chilling. And one of the girls was like, I thought you, like, played in college. Like, why are you so bad at shooting? Like,
what?
Like, good at shooting. And I, like, stayed after practice for 3 hours just shooting.
Holy shit.
Let a freshman say that I'm trash at soccer.
Holy fuck. Yeah, well, I mean, just so some more open-mindedness is what you're talking about, is what I picked up from what you're saying.
Yeah,
is like,
kind of just like a willingness to, like, because when you are a coach and when you are an authority figure, like, everything that you do is not under criticism, but everyone's watching what you're doing.
right.
So you have to be, like, either, I think it's kind of like when a teacher is, like, trying really hard to not make mistakes, but the best teachers you've had, like, in school are the ones that are like,
embrace
hey,
mistakes.
I don't know the answer to this question.
Yeah.
But I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
I think that honesty and vulnerability is, like, kind of like what you're doing here. Like, surrendering yourself to, like, an outlet and passion that you have. I think just being, what it's all about.
Yeah, I think people are afraid to be vulnerable, even if it's, like, doesn't even have to be verbally vulnerable, but putting yourself in a situation that, I was thinking about this right before we got here. People are so afraid of being uncomfortable that they're not willing to, like, okay, people are afraid to be uncomfortable. Everyone knows that, right? Mm-hmm. That's just a fact. A lot of people are afraid, but in uncomfortable situations, the most growth is made. The most value, I feel like the most value in learning something is whenever you're uncomfortable. So what you're saying is, like, I had to, like, step back and be uncomfortable as a coach, you know, put myself in front of everyone for their judgment, even, and kind of, you know, was able to learn from that. Whereas people would be like, I'm not even gonna step out and, like, be uncomfortable in that situation. That's, like, I think the best parts of life are whenever you're uncomfortable. Like, that first date, you know, whenever you're, like, fucking nervous and you're, like, going for a kiss or something, you know, that's very uncomfortable for a lot of people. definitely for me, fucking, even like skydiving or some bullshit. Maybe that's an extreme example, but I find that the most growth happens in uncomfortable situations, and the most self-actualization happens in uncomfortable situations. It's where you really find yourself, and people are too complacent with. And I hate to make a broad statement, which is people are, but I think a lot of people can learn from uncomfortable situations, and we should embrace those uncomfortable situations, those awkward situations.
Yeah. There's this story from a book that I've been reading. He's the guy who wrote it. His name's Oliver Sacks. He's kind of like the godfather of neurology. He's like super famous in this field, but he's also like an amazing like author. So his writings are like really, like his writings and books are really good.
Yeah.
He has a story, and you might like relate to this, like especially like in high school being on meds. Like I remember you just kind of being like, when you're on meds, like the affect, like you kind of were like, especially like I remember in like Mr. Tidwell's class, it's like just like zoning out and stuff. Like,
yeah.
Just because you gotta like lock in.
That was the Vyvanse, man.
Yeah.
That shit was intense.
So this guy, he's a neurologist, and he had a patient who had Tourette's. And back in the day, this is kind of like the 70s, Tourette's really wasn't like super known. There wasn't much support groups for it. So there wasn't really like any forms of like treatment and stuff. So
right.
This guy, his name, like the patient's name was Ray, and everyone called him like Ticky Tacky or like Ricky Racky, like some like goofy, some goofy ass name, because he'd always like tick and like,
right, something repetitive and quirky.
So Oliver Sacks, the neurologist, put this guy on Halidone, which is kind of like, all right, it's going to reduce your symptoms, but it's going to like be low affect, so you're kind of just going to be like calm and normal and stuff.
Right.
And a week later, Ray comes back and like, fuck, like this sucks, like take me off of this now, like I'm losing myself.
Right.
He completely lost everything that he like had known about himself.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like, that's important to like realize, like when you lived your whole life knowing one way and you're presented with something to change your life and like quote unquote for the better, like when you finally realize that one thing, it's like, oh, I kind of don't want this.
Right.
So what happened after that, Oliver Sacks was like, all right, you're going to meet with me for 3 months every week. You're just going to come and we're going to talk about what you want your life to look like without Tourette's, what goals you have, like what does a fulfilling, like satisfying life for you look like. And they talked and they met for like 3 months, and after that he went back on the Halidone, and he had been on it the rest of his life, and it was super like useful for him. And I think
what is the change?
I think in life, like, you need to have time for miracles to happen. Like,
okay,
you need to like really think about what you want in life. Like your last video, like doing goals and shit and like achieving stuff. Like,
yeah, 100%.
Without that like thoughtful intention behind your actions, like things can be like hurtful.
Yeah. Then you're just living off a feel at that point, right?
Yeah.
What feels good, and what feels good isn't always what's good for you.
Yeah.
Am I getting all? Is that far from what you're saying? Sort of.
I think like
just from that for that last part.
Yeah, I think the important part about like he needed the time and space to like think about it like internally, instead of just like, oh, I'm gonna do this thing and change my life. I think that's like a big problem with the like in like the pharmaceutical companies. Like they're just giving kids like medicine without like they really should be
explaining it and like this is what this is.
Yeah. Or like, hey, like what do you want your life to look like if you go on this medication? Instead of just like giving the kid medication.
Which is, I mean, part of it is growing up in that situation is it's not really the kid's choice in any sort of way. And maybe we shouldn't give, but we shouldn't give that much power to a child, or maybe we should. Maybe that's something we could discuss. But if there were more guidance throughout the process instead of, the way I described it was, I got on in 5th grade, which is...
Yeah, it's early.
Right, early, especially, like, times are changing now, I think. I think more and more kids every year are getting on some sort of ADHD medication. Everyone has ADHD, apparently. And, I got on young, and it was just like, okay, this is what you're going to do now. And even my mother didn't really describe why it was or what it was, and I think it would have helped immensely, like, if there was, like, some sort of, I don't want to say, like, the best thing I could say is maybe, like, a talk group.
Yeah.
Like, just, like, easing that kind of, because it really was, I wouldn't say it's detrimental necessarily inherently, but it was a large change. And with such a large change, we shouldn't just be handing out kids medicine. We should be like, this is a large change that's going to happen in your life. This is how it's going to benefit you. This is how it might negatively affect you. This is what you probably need to do, and this is where other patients have struggled in the past, and you might feel like you're not yourself, and that's okay, because you may not see it now, youngster, but this is going to greatly affect you positively in the next 5 to 10 years. You have to look at the bigger picture. As I was on medicine growing up, I always had this internal battle with myself, where I was like, should I be on the medicine? I don't feel like myself whenever I'm on the medicine. And I think it's different for someone with Tourette's, and we could say it's different for every condition, and the severity of it. But I do think I have pretty severe ADHD. And everything is on a spectrum. But as I went through it, it was kind of like this internal battle that I had all throughout my life, which was, should I be on it? Should I not be on it? These are the benefits, these are the negatives. And I'm still, like, contemplating, which is weird, because I've been off of it now for 2 years, and I'm like, should I go back? And that's kind of what I fell into. It was like, I would do it for a year, then I'd go off of it for a year, and then I'd do it for another year, and I go off of it for a year. And the transitions always feel really good. That's the weird part. Like, going back onto it would be really cool. Like, it would be, like, cool for, like, a month, and then the negative effects would start to come, and I would just kind of be like, okay, well, I just got to do this to do it. And it almost does become a chemical dependency on it, too. And I wonder if I was never on that medication growing up while my brain was fucking developing.
Yeah.
Holy fuck. My brain is like this fucking sponge at this point, and you're just going to put Adderall in it. It's like, what do you think's going to happen? I'm just going to absorb everything, but it's also going to, like, deplete my dopamine levels. It's going to, make me dependent on it in some sort of way.
And there's so many side effects that those Generation 2 drugs have. Like, when they like released it and it was like FDA approved, they didn't know about any of the like appetite side effects or like the GI tract. Like, there's like a lot of reports in kids like who are on these like attention enhancing drugs that like, and like I remember when you were in high school, like you never, like when you were on stuff you would never eat, or like,
oh yeah,
and like when it wore off you like would eat like a motherfucking horse.
Yeah, I genuinely I would eat one meal a day, and it's crazy. ADHD medicine is something else. There's still people that I know that abuse it, or misuse it, I should say. Maybe not abuse, but misuse it. And I wouldn't say it's like an epidemic, but in ways it is. And I don't think you can't really call it an epidemic because it's not necessarily like, it's not that negative.
It's like maybe a net neutral, leaning towards like being kind of positive, but like there's a lot of negatives that like, hey, this is like actually really bad. And everyone
is
different.
Yeah, which I think part of my reason to not enjoying it as much as other people that do have ADHD like confirmed is I think I might have like other pre-existing issues, genetic issues that make it a little,
Yeah.
make it a little different, the experience a little different, you know, because I'll take an Adderall at 10 a.m. and then I won't sleep that night.
Dang.
Like, confirmed. Like, if I did that right now, I would not sleep. Caffeine stimulants affect me in a very different way than I think they affect other people. But that's part of it. But yeah, let's get back to ways to describe yourself.
So what? One was coaching.
Yeah, coach.
Two would probably just be, like we talked about earlier, aspiring neuroscientist.
Mm-hmm.
I think like everyone kind of has that. Not that it's like a phase, but like everyone is deeply interested in like the mind and like how flesh, like how did something's like our brain give rise to like our conscious like experience.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you don't question that, well, I don't think it's necessarily inherently wrong to not question it, but I feel like you should question it, and I understand why people would be afraid too.
Yeah, and if you can like make that into a living and like to investigate those answers, it's like
that'd be so
that's
cool,
awesome,
dude.
and that's kind of like what I want to do.
Bruh, that's so sick, man. Hopefully by then I'll have like a psychology degree, like once you get deep into your studies, and I could like give you some patience to work on.
My favorite thing is like when old people who like are asking me like, oh, what do you do? And I like tell them like, so I work in a stress lab. They're like, oh, I'm stressed all the time. Like, where do I sign up for y'all to like test me about how stressed I am? I'm like, that's not what we do. But I appreciate your kindness to
like willingness to come in, willingness to like be fixed. Please, I'm fucking stressing. Yeah.
Third one.
So wait, what was second? Neurology?
Neuroscience. So coaching, neuroscience. And I guess the like last one would probably just be like a personality trait, right? So I'd probably just say calm. Like I think I'm a very calm, chill type guy.
I could see that.
Yeah. So
until you get off that alky and all those drugs, then you wild out. I've seen this man strip down and run through the street.
For real.
I'm lying. But yeah, I think that's I would agree with all of those words. I think that those accurately describe you. If I were to tell anyone about you, I'd probably say, yeah, well, he's coaches this girls team, this high school team. High school?
Yeah.
And he's studying neuroscience, and he's a pretty chill dude, you know? So that's a good introduction. I think that could be clarified as an introduction. We've kind of set the grounds, set the tones for the next discussion, which is wait. You scared me whenever you looked at me. The next discussion is, I don't know. You know, we do have a mental health focused podcast. That's what this is about. And so, what are some struggles you've gone through in the past couple of years? You know, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I think COVID was really hard for everybody.
Yeah.
And I think for that like time of my life, there's this book, or not really a book. It's a story. I forget where I heard it from, but it's like this guy, well, it's not a guy, it's a sea lion who's like stuck in the desert for like however many years he was there. And he's like, well, sea lion's not supposed to be in the desert. He's supposed to be in the sea. Mm-hmm. And the story kind of reflects on like his kind of like mental quest of like, all right, I'm like done being in this like wasteland of the desert, and like I'm gonna finally like go out and find the sea, even though I have no idea where it is, because I've. So
this is from the sea lion's point of view?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think like COVID like felt like a desert for a lot of people, and like very so much for me, and that's kind of like the season of life that I was in. Like, all right, like what's going on? Nothing's really happening. I just feel like I'm stuck in a desert.
Yeah.
And like.
And there wasn't an immediate way out. You had to like, and there wasn't a way to get out of that desert. There wasn't a way to make it back to the sea. So it was even more hopeless than that sea lion probably felt.
Yeah, and I think, especially being at like a college like UNO, where there's not, I mean, there's not much.
There's not much going on ever.
Not much going on, but it is what it is. It's like it's a commuter school,
right?
So I think like finally being able to go to Tulane, finally like
having a community
of people who are like about the same things as you, and like I feel like that was finally like the moment where I'm like, all right, like I finally out of the desert and like finally got to the sea. So I think like that was a really cool experience, but that's kind of like the physical like journey that I went on, but like the mental like was really reflective of that. Like COVID was like a very isolating time for me, like just not doing anything, not talking to anyone, and just kind of like keeping that with myself and not really telling people that. I'm sure like that's kind of how everyone felt at the time.
Yeah,
like,
100%. Everyone, that's something we can all relate to, and it was, I think it was meant to be that.
Yeah.
For what it was, like everyone probably felt isolated and lonely. Actually, Anthony pretty much lived with me at the time, but even then, like we were still fucking lonely and fucking. There's nothing to do, and we were playing video games all day, failing class. Well, I was failing classes, but yeah, I'm glad you made it to the sea. I was gonna ask you, what do you think your sea is? And so UNO was the desert, Tulane was the sea.
I guess there's like
in a sense.
There's like a lot of everyone has their own deserts and everyone has their own seas.
And there's probably multiple deserts and multiple seas.
And that changes as you grow. So like now, like what would be my sea? What would be my desert? I guess I'm like trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
Like
you're trying to figure out what the next struggle is.
Yeah. Which is like a cool thing to know, because like once you kind of realize, like not everyone realizes that they're stuck in a desert.
Yeah,
like,
that's...
Some people are content living in a world that, like, they're okay with.
100%. I think that's, like, a big part of... Like, I could have sat here for so long and not started this YouTube channel, but, like, honestly, this is, like, one of the most important things that I've done in a really long time, like, to me, and it's that habitualness, it's that getting out and talking to my friends, it's that feeling of like, I've always had this intense desire to create in a way, and now I'm doing it, and that, I think that's my sea and desert, probably like, just like this ball of, you know what shiny object syndrome is?
Probably.
So basically it's like, oh, I want to be a painter, I'm going to paint for a month, and then you're like, oh, well, this is kind of getting boring. And it's not necessarily whenever you've reached like the peak, because you know, you do something for a little bit and you'll plateau. It's not necessarily you get to that plateau, it's just like, oh wait, there's something else shiny over here. And it's a lack of commitment, it's a lack of desire to actually do these things that hold you back from ever, you know, progressing in something. But I think I had that for a while because I was looking for this, and I was looking for, you know, I'm gonna at Ricky here, I was looking for this guy and the community that he's in, which is like music and stuff, and it's like I feel like I finally found my people, and I feel like I finally found my place, which is really nice, because making music and making these YouTube videos have been so fulfilling to me, you know, and in a way that like I got really good at drawing for a couple of months, and that was super cool, but like, and I got really good at painting, and then I started skateboarding, and like I had all these little hobbies trying to like fill this desire that we all have inside of us, and I was never gonna take no for an answer. I was never gonna have something where I question it, and that, since I started doing this, there hasn't been a moment where I've questioned like, is this what I want to do, and is this what I want to continue doing? Is this worth the effort? And I think there's a point in your life whenever you have to, which is, this is gonna sound crazy, but I'm starting to get to the point in my life where I feel like I'm questioning, is soccer worth it anymore? Which is...
Dang, old head, bro.
Which is crazy. Not like necessarily like the injuries or anything, but just like the...
Time investment? Or?
Time investment, which is like... I don't know. Once the Guatemalan team comes back, I'll be more locked in. But it's just like, is this taking away from what I'm doing? But the answer is always no.
Yeah, like, if you ask yourself that, like, 2 years ago, you're like, what are you talking about?
But this is the only good thing I have going for
Yeah.
me, is what I would say. This is the only thing that keeps me excited for the weekend. But the answer is always no. And I think that more so than anything, I'm in it for the health benefits at this point. Like, I believe that, like, everybody should, stay active, stay healthy. And at least at a young age, like, or old age too, like, the way I feel after a soccer game, I'm just like so happy. I'm so excited to take on the day. I'm ready to go home, just get some shit done, and it's raising that blood oxygen level, which I think we could turn this back, relate it to neuroscience. I've heard that a lot of these illnesses that we were describing earlier come from not getting oxygen to your blood. Is that true? As you get older, your blood thickens, and you're not moving around as much, and that's part of the reason.
There is, as you get older, like, that's why hypertension is such, like, a serious thing, because your blood vessels, like, get clogged up. So, like, your heart has to pump harder to get the same amount of blood to, like, parts of your brain, like, parts of your body, like the brain. So, like, your heart is trying harder to do the same, like, be as efficient as it was 20, 30 years ago. So,
Your heart has to try harder to get that 19-year-old erection.
yeah, for real.
But, yeah.
So, like, that's a problem, because, like, the heart shouldn't be pumping that hard. It shouldn't be, like, overtaxing it. I think aging, like, the biggest symptom of aging is compensation. Your body has to compensate for so many things as you get older, because it's just kind of, like, tearing down.
Yeah.
There's this study looking at, like, Alzheimer's patients. Like, how is their brain different than, like, other old people that same age that don't have that, like, pathology. And it's like fMRI seed studies, which is, like, you're looking at a specific part of the brain and seeing how it, like, lights up when you're doing, like, a task or something like that.
Yeah.
It showed that an Alzheimer's patient had the same activity score. So, like, it looked similar to how someone our age would look like, which is not how the brain naturally progresses. Like, as you get older, because your neurons are becoming less efficient.
Wait, so people with Alzheimer's had 23-year-old brain activity?
But because their brain doesn't have the, like, hardware to run that
23-year-old
brain, it's becoming less efficient. What happens in normal aging is that brain takes other resources from other parts of the brain. So, like, it kind of, like, not drop shipping. That's not the right word for it. But it's like if you had to get 50 packages to, like, Mississippi, and you took one truck, but that truck had, like, a flat tire. That's kind of like the Alzheimer's brain.
Okay.
A normal age brain would be like, well,
okay, we'll do this shit
like,
easy.
We're gonna take, like, 3 trucks because because the trucks are smaller and don't have the same, like, carrying capacity. Does that make sense?
Okay, that makes sense.
So the Alzheimer's brain is just kind of like trying how it would, like, an 18-year-old brain would.
But it can't. Okay.
So normal aging is all about compensating for your aging.
Okay. And Alzheimer brains are not good at compensating.
They're not.
That makes sense.
The number one, not the number one, but it's something that a lot of scientists are looking at now in terms of aging. Is this thing called cognitive reserves. So it's like, how can I, like, maintain my mental sanity as I age? Mm-hmm. And the number one, like, protective factor of that is your education level. So, like,
really?
Yeah.
Fuck. We're cooked.
But that doesn't just mean, like, all right, you have a PhD, you're good.
But is that, like, you can learn outside of school,
like,
which
learning a new language, learning, like, a new hobby, like,
I've heard stuff like that, like
learning an instrument. Like, as long as you're learning actively in your early age, it's it's a great way to like kind of stave off these like diseases later in life.
Yeah, fuck me.
Especially
Dude,
like,
that's the scariest thing ever. I couldn't imagine like what that's like, or like witnessing that happen to a family member.
yeah, I
or
think
anything of the sorts.
Alzheimer's is like, that's the one thing I'm scared about is like losing yourself.
Yeah, losing yourself, but more, I think what's scary is losing everyone around you. Just like not being able to recognize a single face ever. That's horrifying. Oh, the shrimp. But yeah. All right. I have a question for you, Kennen, that I was thinking about. I think you're well known in the community, right?
I hope.
What community? The guy community. All of us are guys. We're all dudes. And I think a lot of people might look at you and go, this guy is killing it. I think a lot of our friends look up to you in that sense. Like, they're like, Kennen's that overachiever. Kennen's setting those goals. Kennen's achieving those goals. Kennen is, he looks good. He smells good.
I
He,
don't know
just,
about the smell.
in a lot of ways, like, I think a lot of our friends look at you and they go, this guy's got it all figured out. And I have a question for you, which is, do you have it all figured out? And also, what are the struggles that aren't as apparent to everyone around us? Because I think a lot of people do look at you and go, man, he's fucking killing it. But what are some of those struggles? And then also, do you have it figured out?
I think with my situation, like, I was very lucky and fortunate to like be put in a situation like, all right, I don't really have to work in high school, and like my parents are really supportive, and I think that having that backbone was really important. Like even if I went to like a college where I had to like pay for tuition, and like you really didn't, because it's basically free.
Right.
Like, they would have been more than willing to like support that endeavor.
Right.
So I think foremost, like, just being in a situation where like your hierarchy of needs are met. Like, I didn't have to ever worry about like where food was going to come
shelter,
from, or,
food.
like, if I needed to like just like those small little things that like take your attention away from like doing what you want. And I think that mattered growing up a lot. But I think like now, like, just having a willingness to be comfortable, like being willing to not having everything that you want right now, and like realizing that's okay. Like, I think I'm a big believer in like the inverse of expectations. Like, you have to kind of surrender yourself to everything in order to gain everything.
Yeah.
And I think, like, for example, I'm working as like a lab tech job. The job is very like easy, mundane, like very boring. Like, if I wasn't getting my PhD, like, I wouldn't be like pursuing that path.
Right.
But it's something that like I need to kind of like lock in and like, hey,
just fucking do it.
I just need to do it.
Right.
And like be okay, like,
with it being sucky.
And it's been fun, but it's one of those things like, I'd much rather go read, or go kind of like go to Colorado, I guess, and like just go chill in Colorado.
Right.
But like having a willingness to like, I'm just gonna man up and like
do what I gotta do. Getting the bigger picture of, this is mundane, and it may not be exactly what I want in life. Like,
yeah.
definitely not what I want in life.
Yeah.
But it's pushing me closer to my goals. It's just a part of like, I gotta study for 4 years to get my degree to get a job. And if you can't see that bigger picture,
Yeah.
then it's
just
gonna be
like
hard
the
to.
patience. Like,
Yeah.
I think like being okay, like, no one, like, you're never going to become rich by being wealthy. Like, your richness comes from like the quality of your soul. So
Okay.
like paying attention to that first, like everything will follow after that.
Amen,
And I
brother.
think that's the important part.
Write that down. Rich, write that down. You're never going to be rich from being wealthy. You're only going to be rich from the quality of your soul. That's some Bob Marley shit. Amen. But
Someone, like, speaking about like kind of sacrificing the now for like future. Like, hopefully he's gonna watch this. But we've kind of talked about this a little bit. Like, shout out Devin.
Devin?
Shout out Devin.
Okay. Yeah, he's
like going at Delgado and like doing like the nursing thing. That takes like a lot of like integrity and like willpower and sacrifice.
Oh, 100% to like do these fucking classes that, because like, okay, I think a big part of nursing is most of the stuff that you learn. I'm not gonna shit on anyone here, but like most of the stuff you learn throughout nursing school, and even my mom will say this, she's been a nurse for 36 years, is not going to prepare you for the nurse workforce. It's almost more so a sifter of like, how am I going to weed out people that aren't willing to do something shitty in order to achieve their goals. And I think that's what a like big part of college is, you know. And so yeah, being in that shitty situation, even if it doesn't feel like, if you know it's going to put you towards your goals, that you want to achieve these greater goals, being in that shitty situation, or not necessarily ideal situation, in order to get there one day, is something that like is applicable to everyone's life ever.
Yeah.
And is something that I didn't pick up on until I was a little older, probably till I had Oliver, you know, and just kind of being like, I gotta just thug this out. I just gotta, you know, struggle. And so what is so, and I'm gonna talk more about the struggles, which is what is hard about your situation now. Well, not necessarily hard, but that struggle. How does it feel day in, day out, going to this lab job? And where do you ever have like, not necessarily doubts, but you know, question it? Or
there's definitely like, oh wait, am I really like especially going into like a PhD, it's 5 years. It's like, well, what am I going to do after that? Like, I have no idea. Like,
right.
I don't know. Like, we're all looking for something to secure us, and like that's the best thing I have for like what I've come to my own. Like, oh, I think that will be okay, and like it's a safe like option for like my life.
Yeah.
But I don't know really if it is. I'm just kind of like trusting that it will be, and I have no reassurance that like if that's something I even will like want to do, or if it just looks good.
Yeah.
I think just like something that's helped me, and I've recently started doing this, like just keeping a journal, like, and like you don't have to do it every day.
Mm-hmm.
Just like write how you feel. So like when you are feeling shitty, like let me just go read this and see how I was like a week ago.
Yeah.
And like grounding yourself in your own like in your own word, like, oh, like I'm fine, like I'm just being dramatic.
Mm-hmm.
Like just being like having a record of like how you're feeling and like tracking that has been helpful for me.
Yeah, definitely. I think everyone would benefit from keeping a journal. I think everyone would benefit from writing stuff down. I think that's been my superpower. Like, if I have goals for the day, I'm writing them down, and there's no way I'm not achieving like 90% of those goals. Yeah. Like, and I don't know. People need to be willing to like try things, but people are way too complacent. God damn.
Someone is getting a timeout.
Somebody got their Nintendo Switch taken away. But yeah, so there is struggles, there's doubts, there's these things, and that's what I was really trying to get at, which is like, Kennen, even though he's fucking locked in, there's these moments where he might doubt himself, and there's these moments where things don't necessarily make sense, and maybe you lose sight of the bigger picture for a little while, but the way you get back to it is by just like reaffirming in those doubts, no, this is what I want to do.
And that's different with everybody. Like, how do you reaffirm yourself? Like, it might be journaling. It might be like seeking that out for like other people's affirmation. Like, you kind of just have to find what's healthy for you.
Right. Like for example, Kenny was, and this does make sense culturally, but Kenny was talking about how doing it for his family was like a big part of it, you know, and he was talking about how that was the main reason that he was, you know, studying 8 years in college, was like, because it all makes sense, like, because part of it is to ensure that my family is happy or something like that, or, you know, and so it is different for everyone. But I think for me, I really started to like see that whenever I did find my thing. And if you are doubting yourself all the time, it's probably for the right reason, you know? It's probably because it's not your thing, man. You probably need to like keep doing some more soul searching. You probably need to like look into it deeper, because you shouldn't be doubting yourself day in, day out.
Yeah.
And if you are, it's probably because you're putting your focus into the wrong things, and your brain's telling you exactly what you need to hear. Okay, we're at 50 minutes. We still got a little bit of time left. Wait, painting reveal for a little bit?
Yeah. The cat go hard.
Yes, sir.
You better get at least $50 for this.
$50? That's how much is going on the site for? I need to fucking... I don't know how to make a website. Does anyone know how to make a website? Rebecca? What is it for? Like selling shit? Oh, sick. So, okay. Hypnotherapy. Wow. That's kind of up your alley, yeah?
Yeah. That's like for like trauma people?
I'm not sure. I think she does it for like a variety of things, like addiction. I think people do it for like cigarettes a lot.
Bro, my dad, he told me this is how he quit cigarettes. He watched a YouTube video while he was like going to bed, and it was like, fucking cigarettes are disgusting. You need to stop smoking cigarettes. They make you feel horrible. They make you sick. They make you nauseous. If you smoke a cigarette, you will fucking die. And he said the next morning he like went to go smoke a cigarette, and he tasted it, and he just started throwing up. He started fucking throwing up. It was like, God damn. So like that unconscious mind is very powerful. But I have a question. If there's a button to kill everyone in the world, everyone that exists, would you press it?
Bro.
And are you willing to have a discussion about it, or is it just a flat no?
What would you do?
I'd press it.
For why?
No more. I feel like no more pain, no more suffering, no more life.
About suffering though?
It is about suffering.
And the joy that suffering brings.
Oh my God. Wait, I think you just changed my mind. Dubski, Blaine finds a moral way. I don't know. I feel like there's too much. And I pose that question because it's not necessarily like how I truly believe, but I feel like there is something that can be discussed there, you know?
Yeah.
It's not necessarily something that I obsess over or think about all the time, but Anthony posed a question to me a while ago, and it made me think. And so I don't remember what his answer was, but I think there's so much negative happening in the world that the world not existing or not being observable is something that you have to take into consideration, you know?
Yeah. I would disagree.
Okay.
Like, because there's so much bad in the world, that gives us an outlet to like do good.
Okay. That's
and
beautiful.
Like what that good looks like, it can be different for anybody. Like I'm sure your mom gets a lot of joy out of like being able to help people in the healthcare, but like over time that might have like soured. But there's joy, and like suffering isn't the right word, obviously, but like something that can be good can be bad, and something that can be bad can become good.
Yeah,
it's like
nothing is definite.
It's how
right?
you perceive your own like ability to do anything in the world. Like a cool thing like psychology, like anxiety and excitement have the same exact physiological response in your body. It's just how you perceive your own like perception of that is what you're gonna feel.
What is that? The parasympathetic nervous system?
Yeah. Cool.
or is it?
It's just a sympathetic nervous
Okay,
system.
okay.
You're close.
Yeah, close.
Parasympathetic is like when it's the rest and digest.
The rest of wait.
Rest and digest. So
Okay.
It's like parasympathetic is when you're just chilling. That's
Yeah.
like when it's activated.
God damn it, we're cooked. Ricky, do you have anything we should talk about?
There were some cool like neuroscience questions or like what interests you the most, like some rabbit hole stuff.
Is there any like some
Some cool.
Deep dark.
iceberg
Oh.
neuroscience shit? Not necessarily
can-
dark, but iceberg neuroscience.
We can talk about the Neuralink.
Neuralink.
Yeah.
That's a good one. So what do you think of that?
I think it's helpful for the people who it's targeted for, which is just like handicapped people who like don't have any ability to kind of like express themselves in the world.
Oh my god.
So I think that part of it is very like, yeah, that's pretty good. But what it's like being designed for it to be like an everyday, like, oh, everyone's just gonna get it. I think that's super dangerous. And,
Yeah.
like, the way it's constructed right now, so it's like they drill a hole in your skull and put electrodes on the surface of your brain, and they kind of train those like neurons that are connected to the electrodes. Electrodes are just like there for like electric signaling.
Mm-hmm.
So the two people who have it already, they can really only like move a mouse on a screen, and you can kind of already do that with your eyes.
Mhm.
So it's not helping that much. But like, it's the one thing I'm worried about it is the first guy who got it. I think it's like 90% of the like neuron tissue that was connected to the electrodes have already been burnt out because the
fuck.
electricity was literally like frying his brain.
So it's like now he
It's-
is dependent on
It's
the
like
Neuralink.
10%. It's like 90% less efficient than it was the first day he got it.
Holy
like-
shit.
I think there's just a lot of problems with it, but it can be
It,
cool
it,
when
if it
they,
gets
like-
better and safer.
Yeah, I just think they need to find a way to like have it not be able to like you like it feels like a hat, like instead of drilling into your skull. Like that would be cool. But I don't think they're anywhere close to like figuring out how to do that.
Yeah. Okay, this is completely or sort of related. You talked about handicapped people, right? That are like kind of disabled and maybe can't necessarily talk or move
Yeah.
well. It reminds me of something I was writing about the other day, which is happiness. And I want to ask you, what is happiness to you?
Dang, man.
I know it's a big question because like this is something I talk about in the writing, which is like we never really consider even what happiness is. It's just something that we feel, and if that's your answer, then that's your answer. But
Well, when I think about happiness, I think about like joy.
specifically, yeah.
Joy is like a contentment in life.
Mhm.
And like whatever you can do in your life to achieve being content, like whether that be your faith or like whatever you do, like exercise gives a lot of people joy, but it can also give a lot of people like stress and anxiety, like, oh, I don't like working out.
Mhm.
Like it's whatever you can do to achieve that content in your life. Like for me, like I love playing soccer. It brings me a lot of happiness. I love just like spending time with myself, like in thought. I'd be taking like 2-hour long like hot ass showers just to like think about stuff, and like that brings me happiness. But I think it's all about just finding out like who you are and kind of not optimizing, but like, oh, this actually brings me happiness. Like, let me continue to keep doing this.
Right. But just being aware of that, being
Yeah.
aware of the things that bring you contentness and
Yeah.
happiness, and pursuing those
Yeah.
endeavors until they become a thing that doesn't bring you happiness or something. Just being willing to like, oh fuck, that's really intense.
You know what?
That's really, because I need to talk about something. that reminds me of relationships. I'm gonna pursue this until it doesn't make me happy anymore. And fuck, I think I've been in so many situations where I was in a relationship and I was like, this is just like
Do you think relationships are, you can kind of get addicted to relationships?
Yeah, for sure. You get, because I think a lot of people desire to be seen, and the way that you're seen in a relationship is so much deeper than anything, or maybe different. It's intoxicating. It's everything, and then when it becomes nothing, you become nothing.
There's like, we had this summer, when I was at Crook Creek, we had like a conversation about joy, and I brought up the question, like, what do you think the opposite of joy is?
Right, and what they
And
say, sadness.
They said sadness, but I really think the opposite of joy is addiction.
Addiction. Okay.
Because addiction is like, you want and crave something, but it slowly takes away from you. And
Okay.
Like, joy is the opposite of that. Something will give you happiness, and something like will fulfill you and like fill your cup. Addiction will slowly drain your cup. And take
Wow,
everything away
that's
from
so beautiful. That's smart. I like that. I'm gonna write that down. Write that down. But fuck. But yeah, and I think relationships can become an addiction, like you were saying, and they take away from your joy. And I think it can be like one of the most detrimental things to a young person, that has goals. And that's not to, everyone acts differently in relationships, but I think if I was, it brings that contentness, and it brings that comfort that I was referring to earlier. That people are so happy to be in. Is like, I'm happy right where I'm at, but the most growth happens in uncomfortable situations. The most growth happens whenever you go through that breakup, whenever you lose that job, whenever you fucking try that new hobby with those new people. You force yourself to go to that party where you don't know anyone. Those are the uncomfortable situations that not necessarily always turn out to be beneficial. Well, they're going to be beneficial no matter what, because you are putting yourself through an uncomfortable situation. But those uncomfortable situations can be very beneficial and lead you into new areas of your life. And I think being in a relationship makes you not want to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
In a way.
What, not just romantic, but like friendship, family relationship, what relationship like has grown you the most?
Not necessarily romantic.
No.
Fuck me, cunt. That's such a good question. I don't want to put anyone on blast either, cause like, Oliver. That's a good one. I didn't even think about that. Holy shit. I mean, yeah, well, it's definitely Oliver. Oliver's relationship with me. I don't even, it's so weird because I don't even see it as a relationship, which is probably unhealthy. I see it as me. I see him as me. I think of us as a unit, a cohesive unit that works together. He brings me happiness. I put food in his belly. It's a fucking win-win for everyone. I think, though, that is an issue in some ways. Whenever parents make their existence completely about their children, I think it can take away from the parents' health, and it also, which I have experienced with my mother, where she has been like, she obsessed over us for multiple years and kind of helicopter mommed and kind of whatever, even into my 20s and shit, where,
Who were you gonna answer that?
huh?
Who were you gonna answer that?
I don't know. I was thinking maybe I was gonna think of like some of my good friends that have like been, not necessarily rocks in my lives, but more so disappointments in my eyes. Which, not necessarily disappointment in the way they turn out, but disappointment in the way our relationships have gone, if that makes sense. And disappointment in, I want better for everyone around me. I want better for my friends, and a lot of people are content with nothing, and that makes me sad. But, so those relationships really grow you, because whatever. But Oliver, what was I saying?
Oliver's. You didn't know it would be Ollie.
You're right.
Yeah.
Wait, I didn't know it would be Ollie.
Like, you didn't even consider Ollie in that question.
Yeah, true. Oliver is a big part of. Oh wait, the helicopter mom. How like a
Yeah.
parent putting everything into their kid can take away from the parent and also take away from the child. Oliver is a big part of why this is a thing, you know, because I look at my parents, not to put them on blast or whatever, and I'm like, what do they do? You know, like what do they do for themselves? You know, and the sad answer is, at least from my observable standpoint, they don't do much for themselves.
Parents need hobbies.
100%. And so, if Oliver can observe me and go, Dada's fucking out here on Saturdays doing this because he's doing something that he believes in, and he's pushing something out that he wants the world to see, maybe I can do the same thing. Maybe I can achieve something. Maybe I can put myself in an uncomfortable situation where I can learn to grow and help others and this and that. And so he's a big part of what we got going on here. And as I say that, we're at 1 hour and 6 minutes. And so maybe we could painting reveal. And I'll name mine first. And I'm going to say Thoughts of Disparity is the name of this painting.
I'm gonna go with Meow James.
Meow James. Wait, I want to get a wait. And with that, did you end it? And with that, handshake. Blaney talks out.